little shorter, and then we can do a second one, and it will be like not. We won't be here for 4 hours.
Yeah, that is the truth. Welcome to possibly shorter episode of Movie Cinema Film. We're your hosts,
Leah
and Jordan.
I didn't know that you were recording.
Oh yeah, I just started recording. I do that sometimes.
So wait, you did the sound check without me? Like,
I didn't even do a sound check. You're the last person to use this, so.
Oh, so we're fine.
Yeah, it should be good.
But what if you listen to this later and we sound like Marge Simpson?
I don't think you're gonna sound like Marge Simpson.
Okay.
Your voice doesn't have similar timbre.
Well, people love her anyway, so I feel like
Yeah.
we'll probably be fine. So the movie we're talking about today is not Hungarian. It's not Thai. It's not British. It is an American pickle. I just wanted to specify because of how many different kinds of pickles there are in the world.
Wow. I have only had American pickles in my lifetime. I've never eaten pickles from other countries.
Wow, you're such a racist. Like,
Oh my god.
ugh.
I've left the country like once and came back.
Well, you should leave again. Get out of here. Eat those pickles.
Maybe in the future, if we have our travel ban out of the country lifted ever by other countries. I was just talking about how I wanted to like drive to Alaska and how fun that would be, but then I realized I couldn't even go to Canada, right?
Oh
We're not
my
allowed
God.
in Canada,
No,
are
no, not allowed yet.
we? Major bummer.
It really
We have
is.
to stay in the States. Unless somebody wants to traffic me across the border.
Oh my gosh, smuggle me.
Yeah.
Our first date.
If you guys have the Canadian underground hookup, the tunnels that go underneath the border line
Oh my
in the
god.
north,
What
hit
if
us
people
up.
busted in here right now and they were like,
We are the
get underneath! LeBron, I'm watching LeBron on the TV.
Yeah, he's just trying to get the short one.
How does he get a mask over that beard? I don't know.
I don't know.
Maybe the altitude is different up there. So
I don't think they're wearing masks in the bubble, are they?
not on the court. I think they're all tested like every day, right? It's like, because the NBA was the first thing to shut down, really.
Yeah, but also it is a bubble. Like, there's not many people who get into it.
Yeah.
Like, they're very strict about who gets into it, I think.
Ugh.
And there's so much money on the line, and it's very controlled because it's in one place.
I miss going to games.
Yeah. Hopefully in, 3 years, we'll be able to go to public events.
Can't wait for that Knicks game in 2024.
But, yeah, we watched American Pickle. I think Leah watched it a little bit longer ago than I did.
No, I watched it a few days ago. I watched it right under the wire.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Tie.
Mm-hmm.
So what did you hear about it going into it?
I heard that, I listened to Seth Rogen's interview on Stern, because I love Stern, and I have been listening to Seth's interviews on there since the beginning. So, since the beginning of his career, so I always love when he is on there. I feel like they have a good relationship, and Howard was asking him, because I hadn't heard anything about it until I listened to this, and I was like, oh, Seth Rogen must have a new movie out, and,
Can I cut you off?
what?
I went in the wrong order of our podcast. We just started talking about American Pickle.
I was thinking that, but I was
We have to talk about the theme. Wow. It's been a long weekend.
We're both just what's going on, so it's fine. I was saying maybe in my head I'm just maybe he just wants to switch the format, which I guess doesn't really matter, but
I don't have that much power.
Really?
I only have one share, and then you have the other share.
I know. That's
Yeah.
true. So what we usually do on this podcast, if you're the first if this is your first listen, welcome.
If this is their first listen, they stop listening.
They're like, these people are not on the same page. So we normally each pick a movie or two that are related to the movie that we're reviewing, except not really. It's kind of more like an A to C thing.
Thematically related in
Yes.
some far out way. Whoa.
Whoa. So we are doing movies that have a food in the title to go with an American pickle. So Jordan, would you like to go first? How many did you?
I just did one. Did you have multiple?
You just did one. I did two.
Wow. So I guess you should go first if you have two.
Yes. Okay. So, I have two honorable mentions, but I'm not going to talk about them because I've talked about them on the podcast before. But one is Tangerine, and one is Wild Strawberries. Both superior films. And then my runner-up is Mystic Pizza.
Whoa.
Have you seen Mystic Pizza?
I have not, but you've talked about it a lot.
I have?
I feel like you have. Maybe not.
I
You've
don't
definitely
even remember.
recommended it to me.
The thing is, like, it's hard for me to remember the conversations I've had with you off
pod. Yeah.
And on. Sometimes I think I talked about a movie on our podcast, but I actually realized that I didn't, and I just talked to you about it privately, so I don't know. Anyway, so it's about these three girls who work at a pizza place the summer after their last year of high school in Mystic, Connecticut, and it's one of Julia Roberts' first movies. She was really young. I don't even know how young, maybe like 20. And it also has Lily Taylor and, oh my gosh, I'm forgetting the third girl, but she's worked like so much. She's done so many different movies. They all have really interesting storylines, and I just love, like, first of all, I just love the 80s vibe of this movie. Like, it's so, like, it's not 80s in an annoying way, but, like, you really get the sense, I think, of what it was like to be, like, a young woman in the 80s, right after high school, kind of just in that in-between, like, that weird time where you're just like, oh, wow, I graduated high school, like, should I go to college? What should I do? And there's so many good scenes in this. You just really feel like their sisterhood. It's a really good coming-of-age movie, and it's also a great slice-of-life movie, which I feel like a lot of people claim that certain movies are slice-of-life movies, and they're not. Because I'm always thinking to myself, well, but that it does have a plot. Like, the whole point of the movie is this or that. But this is truly just a slice of life. Yes, there are plot points that happen, like the Lily Taylor character. She actually is dating Vincent D'Onofrio in one of his early performances, and she just keeps, like, she keeps kind of denying that they're a thing, and I think she's afraid to have a real relationship, and maybe she puts on this front that he's not good enough for her or whatever, and she kind of goes through this arc of just trying to realize that, you know, maybe he's okay, and she shouldn't be so, she shouldn't have her boxing gloves on. And Julia Roberts, her sister, is the actress, I can't think of her name. She has a very scandalous storyline, and there's this awesome scene between the two of them that anybody will remember from the movie, which I'm not going to, like, reveal what is going on, but her sister comes into the pizza place after hours, and Julia's, like, mopping the floor or something, and it's one of those great acting scenes where the actor has to be, like, doing a task in the middle of a fight. And I love that. It's a very interesting challenge when you're an actor to have to keep doing something while you're mad or whatever. And Julia just, like, yells at her about the situation, and it's just such a good scene. They do so well, and I don't know, I think it's really for everybody, but I definitely think that young girls, teenage girls, should watch it.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
Should I watch it too?
Yeah.
Okay. I will also watch it.
Because you like a wide range of movies. You're not like, oh, I only want to see the Hulk, you know?
I only watch boy movies.
Yeah. I'm a boy.
That's actually a good segue for the film that I chose.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
I chose The Watermelon Woman. Have you seen that?
No, I've never even heard of that.
It's a film by Cheryl Dunye, and it was on Criterion Channel, so I watched it when I was on there, but it is, like, a classic to a lot of people. And it follows this black lesbian who works in a video store, and, like, how she decides to research this actress who was, like, uncredited, but was, like, the Watermelon Woman in, like, a movie, like, basically playing a mammy role, like a very racial stereotype. And it's, like, part, like, mockumentary, kind of, like, comedy, romance, drama. Yeah. And it was very interesting. And as a white man in America, I was not exposed to this, and it was very good shit. And yeah.
When did it come out?
In 1996, so it's basically as old as me, almost.
Wow, that's amazing. I've never heard of this movie. So it actually...
She's a really good director. I started watching all of her stuff, and then I just looked into her, because they had it all on the Criterion Channel. If you get the Criterion Channel, you can watch all her films.
Get it, bitch. I actually just resubscribed to Shudder because it's October.
But she was directing an episode of Lovecraft Country, according to her credits, and she has also directed episodes of The Chi, which is Lena Waithe's show.
Ah.
Yeah. So she directs a lot of TV.
Well, that is awesome. Thank you for telling me about it. I've never even heard of that movie. And I was trying to think if I can think of any other black lesbian movies, and I thought of Set It Off, which weirdly came out the same year as this, or maybe right around the same time. But that's really it. There needs to be more... There just needs to be, obviously, like, more black movies in general, but there needs to be a more wide range of black people in movies, too. Different personalities. People are not... It's not just, like... I feel like things are changing now, but I feel like even in movies that are supposed to be progressive, I'm like, oh, so this person is still, like, their character is still just black person.
Yeah,
you know?
This film is very, like... It's just perfect in so many ways because, like, just the idea of her researching what she's researching is just, like, very much making a good point about, like, American film. And it's just pointing out so many things that, like, American film has said was okay that's just clearly not okay. Mm-hmm. And, like, a lot of the sensibilities that we have today are sensibilities that she was talking about in 1996. And stuff like that, and, like, pointing out how racist we are in film and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. As a society in America. Whoever was making the films. I wasn't making the racist films. Back
Jordan's
then.
not responsible for this, you guys.
I'm just saying.
Exonerate him, because he has not been doing anything wrong.
And my parents were not filmmakers in the industry.
No.
So they're not responsible for racist films in the industry.
We are free and clear.
Yeah, no, but it's just a great film. I highly recommend if people are trying to just expand their filmmakers base. Cheryl Dunye is
I definitely want to watch
perfect place to start. She has a very wide catalog. Yeah.
Let me put this on my list from you because
You keep a list?
Yeah, because
a me list? Uh-huh.
I have a list of qualities I love in Jordan. Yeah, I have a list of movies because from the other day you gave me a lot of recommendations on our horror movie episode. Tune in if you haven't heard it, and I'm gonna put The Watermelon Woman on that.
Yeah.
That's really cool. Okay, so my number one pick, now this isn't really a food, it's a candy, but I figured it counted, and it's Jawbreaker.
I've never seen this film. I don't even know what the hell you're talking about.
It is so good. It's one of my movies I grew up with, which is a little scary, but I think it's 98 or 99, and it's...
Probably do a bad site.
Oh, did it?
It keeps bringing me to jawbreaker.com, which is not a registered IP.
Oh.
That is like trying to steal my information and make me touch clickbait. Now I Googled it.
So, it's a dark high school comedy. It's kind of in the vein of Heathers, and...
You know it's good because it has dismembered female body parts.
Absolutely.
Coming up from the floor.
So, it's a little dark. So, it's about these 4 friends in high school, and I guess they have a tradition where on each of their birthdays, they, like, kidnap each other in their bed in the morning and, like, take them somewhere fun or whatever at, like, 6 a.m. And so the 3 girls go to Liz, the girl whose birthday it is. They go to Liz's house and take her out of bed in the morning, and in order to stop her from screaming, they put a jawbreaker in her mouth, like one of those big ones. And I don't know if they had done this before with success or not, but they put her in the trunk, and then when they get to their destination where they're going to take her out, they see that she has died. She choked to death on the Jawbreaker. And the other three girls are played by Rose McGowan, Julie Benz, and Rebecca Gayheart, and all of them are really good in it. And Rose is kind of like the villain. She plays Courtney, and she's kind of sickly amused by what's happened, and the other girls are like horrified. Julie Benz plays Marcy. She's kind of like the dumb one. She's just like going along with what Courtney says because she doesn't have really an opinion of her own. And then Julie is played by Rebecca Gayheart, and she's the one who kind of feels really bad about it and can't believe what happened and is just like traumatized. And so in order to not go to jail, Courtney's like, we have to hide the body. Like, we have to, or no, not hide the body. We have to make it look like a murder. And, like, we'll just make it look like some guy came into her bed at night and, like, killed her. And they are just so scared that they go along with it. And then another girl that goes to their high school, this really nerdy girl named Fern, played by Judy Greer, who's in, like, every movie. She's awesome. I actually really love seeing her in movies. She happens to come to the house because she had like a study date or something with Liz, and so she witnesses them like carrying her body in or something like that. And so in order to blackmail her into not telling the cops, Courtney says, we'll make you into a popular girl, like we'll give you a makeover and you can hang out with us and you'll have like friends and a social life and you won't be alone anymore, and all you have to do is keep our secret. And she's like, okay. And so she turns into this like she turns into this huge like Courtney-esque bitch, and they start like fighting, and the lie that they told and this murder just spirals more and more and more out of control, and it all culminates at the prom, obviously, because we all know that everything comes to an end at the prom. And I really like the style of the movie because the costumes are very kind of like Clueless-esque. Like, this movie exists in a world where girls always have the time, energy, and money to have perfect hair, like perfect makeup, jewelry, and bag and shoes that matches like a perfect outfit like every single day, as if college is like, I mean, as if high school is like every day is like a photo shoot or something. And it's not the same costume designer as Clueless, but it's one of that. What Mona May is the costume designer from Clueless and like Romy and Michelle. She's awesome, and I guess one of the girls that worked for her went on to do this movie, and you could totally tell because it has its very own unique, distinct style and look, and it just like fascinated me as a kid, and I still think it's really, really entertaining, and it definitely stands on its own.
Nice. Mm-hmm. I'm gonna have to watch it at some point.
Yeah. I think you would like it. It's wild.
Yeah, no, it seems pretty crazy, and it was made in 1999, so that's how you know it's a great movie.
Mm-hmm. It's one of those things, like, who would even think of that, like, put a jawbreaker in someone's mouth, and that's how they die? Like, really? And there's a filming location in this that is one of my favorite filming locations. It's the Bob's Big Boy Broiler in Downey, California, and there are many, many movies that were filmed there. If you Google it, you might recognize it, especially if you're a film fan. I've always just been, like, captivated by it for some reason. I guess because I saw it in so many movies, and I have a goal. Like, it's not even a goal. I could do it. I just have to figure out how and when and money and stuff. But I want to go on, like, a cross-country trip and, like, have that be, like, where like, instead of just going to LA or whatever. Like, I want to drive from here to there. Bask in the film location glory.
Sounds like a plan.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I feel like there are probably extensive maps of the entire country with film locations plotted on them.
Okay, I'll pick you up at 5. See you then.
They definitely have California mapped out.
Oh,
like Los Angeles.
Yeah.
And they've done it for, like, specific sets, like a Breaking Bad tour of Albuquerque type thing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a lot of those obviously in New York City too, and around here, like there's a Sopranos one around here. We're recording in Rutherford, New Jersey right now.
Yeah. Yeah, the Sopranos one is kind of cool. I do kind of want to go to the Bada Bing.
Really?
No, I don't really want to go to the Bada Bing.
I mean...
It's Sad Dolls is the Bada Bing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Well, in Westwood/Park Ridge, like right on the line, they have James Gandolfini Way, because that's where he lived, and he's
So he was actually a Jersey guy. Yeah.
He was actually. I don't know if he was from here, but he lived here up until his death. Like I saw him multiple times. Like he's one of the only, well, probably the only celebrity that I would just like see, you know, like not when I was like working in the city on something or whatever, like just in life, like I would just like see him, and it was not. I mean, it wasn't like I was still like, oh my fucking god, it's James Gandolfini, but like it was more normal than like, I don't know, seeing other celebrities, I guess. And everyone around here.
A little less normal than seeing Philip Seymour Hoffman, but a little bit more.
Oh,
another great that you got to meet.
I love you, Philip, forever. Yeah, but he is amazing as a person, and nothing like Tony Soprano. Like everyone around here knows that. Like everybody has a story about him, and he was like the nicest, like sweetheart kind of guy.
R.I.P.
R.I.P. So many. Oh my god, the best
but he
actors
made
in
one
the
of the
world.
best shows ever. And some great
left
movies.
us. Yeah.
All right, so somebody who's made some other television shows and movies. A guy named Seth Rogen stars in this.
Yes.
It's not directed by him. It's directed by Brandon Trost.
Right. And by the way, if you watch any of our food pics, tweet or DM us at Movie Cinema Film on Instagram.
Yes, please.
Let me know your thoughts. And wait, send us your favorite food movies. Not necessarily about food. Like, we're not talking about like Chef or something. I mean, that, you know, it has to have food in the title. Okay? Follow the rules.
Do you know the FP?
What's the FP?
That's like the only other film that he's directed.
Yeah, I didn't know. Every time I watch a movie, I look at the director and I didn't recognize him.
Oh, wow. That's a weird concept for a film. His first film was basically about how these gangs played Dance Dance Revolution to solve things.
Ah! So they had dance battles?
Yeah, basically dance battles.
Oh my god.
The FP. Fraser Park.
I love that.
I guess it's a satire. Yeah. But besides that, he's been a cinematographer for a lot of films that Seth Rogen worked on and produced, like Neighbors, This Is the End, The Interview, Gruber.
Well, it's awesome that he was able to
Neighbors 2.
impress Seth enough to get this directing job.
Yeah, I guess he's a really good cinematographer. And I thought this film was good too.
Yeah, so should I continue with my Howard Stern story?
Oh yeah, sorry. I cut you off at the right time, and now people are really curious about where it's going.
Yes, people are like, excuse me, that was so compelling. I want to hear her talk about someone talking. So, also the NBA Finals are on, and I'm like very distracted. It's a tie game, 8-8. Anyway, so I heard him on Howard, and it was really interesting because I didn't know anything about the movie, and I just heard like from Howard's questions what was going on, which he was like, you know, did you have a dialect coach? Like, how did you get such a good accent? And I was like, interesting, you know, like what's the accent? And then I just kind of heard these little droplets of information about the movie. But I just tend to watch all of Seth Rogen's movies anyway, like pretty much since what was that, 40-Year-Old Virgin. I always like watch. I've seen probably, I don't know about every single one, but almost every single one since then. So I knew I was gonna watch it. What did you know about the movie ahead of time?
Basically similar things.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't know too much about it. I think I listened to like a Seth Rogen interview somewhere, which is interesting because Seth Rogen's had like a long career, so it's fun to listen to him as an actor and comedian and a writer and director, to hear what he has to say about projects and whatnot. Not as many as I would have liked, you know? Like, I feel like I could have gotten more in-depth interviews with Seth Rogen.
Yeah.
He doesn't give a lot out. Like, I feel like he's saving a lot.
Yeah,
for his
maybe
interviews.
if you listen to him on Howard Stern, he has so many good interviews from there.
Yeah. Also, his life is probably very boring now. He's probably just doing work all the time. He's probably just doing producing and acting and writing, and then that's all he does.
No, haven't you seen his Instagram?
No, what's going on with his Instagram?
I would say guess, but you'll never guess. He makes pottery.
Oh, I did kind of hear about that, yeah.
He's like a professional now. He makes really, really nice pottery, actually.
Well, hey, if you don't have to do anything for the rest of your life, like with the success you've had in the past, why would you not pick up new hobbies?
I know.
You know? Like, after a certain point, it's just like, why would you want to keep doing something you're that good at?
I assume that he'll eventually take on other things, too. Like, he'll probably direct more movies, I think. He'll direct... I mean, I know he'll direct more movies, but he'll direct, like, all the time. Like, he'll be in the director's chair a lot, you know? That's my prediction.
I look forward to it.
Yeah. We're a fan. Seth, come on the show.
Yeah, Seth Rogen should definitely come on the show. I wonder if he would. What would we do if we got Seth Rogen on the show? Would we just, like, set up a situation where we could, like, smoke weed with him?
Yes.
Simultaneously, wherever he is?
Have to, yeah. And I would get a COVID test, and I would ask him to get one so that I could hug him for, like, 3 minutes before we start.
I feel like we'd have to go remote. I don't know if we could get him.
In person?
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't know. We'll find out. Find out. I'll hit him up. I'll get IMDb Pro and hit him up.
Thank God. So no hug, but I can dream.
So this film. Great. Perfect. Exactly what we need for these times.
Perfect? I wouldn't say perfect.
Perfect for these times, not a perfect film.
Yeah.
But, like, it's just, like, distractionism. Like, it's just, like, something that's about some other time and about some other people. And I thought it was funny. Like, I thought there were lines that were very clever and quick.
Mm-hmm.
And I liked the performances.
Well, you know what I liked about it is that I feel like a lot of movies that Seth and Evan Goldberg, who his producing partner and writing partner, I feel like a lot of the movies they produce are obviously, there's a lot of dick jokes and that kind of humor. And I love that he did this movie that there really wasn't anything. There were no weed jokes, there were no dick jokes, there were no, I mean, unless I missed one, but it definitely wasn't overt the way that it usually is. And, like, I love dick jokes just as much as the next girl. Especially if the next girl loves them a lot, because I do. I think they're funny, you know, and done well. But also, like, the weed thing, I feel like you get in a few good jokes before it's like, okay, we understand, like, you know. But it was different. Like, it was more of a dramedy. It was really serious, you know. It wasn't, like, totally goofy. Yeah, there was, like, sci-fi fantasy elements, but it wasn't, like, something like Sausage Party, which is, like, you know, very silly. And I think it's a good direction for him to go in, because he also did that one 50-50. I don't know if he, like, produced that one, but that was also really serious.
Yeah, like, Seth Rogen had very little to do with a lot of stuff. Like, I'm assuming he and Evan Goldberg probably did a lot of the crew, like, picked a lot of the crew, and, like, it was their production company, but, like, it was written by Simon Rich, so they weren't even in the writing room, really, for it. So, it is definitely a different kind of Seth Rogen film, I think.
Yeah. I think they did develop it, if I'm not mistaken. But
Word. You might have heard that in the interview.
Yeah.
That I don't know. Yeah.
But yeah, they didn't. They've co-written a lot, and they didn't do that on this one. But what did you think of his performance playing two different people? It reminded me of The Parent Trap.
I thought it was great. Yeah, like I didn't know I wanted this Seth Rogen character, but like you said, it was like very good to see a character that was like funny in a way that like Seth Rogen definitely knows, because he's like playing like his great Jewish grandparents and great Jewish grandparents, and like playing a stereotype of like his relatives and stuff like that in a lot of ways. But like it was like a very interesting character to watch. Like, it was very compelling. Like, it didn't seem fake. Like, you wanted it to be fake at times, and you wanted to be like, oh, Seth Rogen can't do this. But like, he was good. He pulled it off, like, through it. And like, the other character was like a very relatable character for a lot of millennials, I think, probably. Just like figuring out how to make money in a time where like a lot of people just make money off of fake shit, and like a lot of people make money off of like just imaginary non-tangible things like intellectual property, like code, like we're making podcasts, like you can't feel a podcast, like you listen to it and you hope that a mass number of people listen to your podcast, but like that's the best you can do. But like his great grandfather like had to make an object. He had to make pickles day in and day out and sell them in order to make an honest living. And it's like, yeah, like we're very much living in a different time, and it's like that is what society needs in a lot of ways, is people who actually know how to make shit, because nobody knows how to make shit here because we outsourced all of our jobs and like got so lazy. Like people who had wealth are the laziest people in the world, and then other people just never had access to it in the first place. You know?
Mm-hmm.
Like, I feel like that's where America's at right now, where, like, nobody even makes shit anymore. Like, it's just like, oh, we just get it shipped to us, and, like, if it doesn't work, like, we just buy the other one. You know?
Yeah, isn't it, when you think about those times of his great-great-grandfather, like, everything that you purchased was, like, made by someone, like, by hand. You know? Everything that you used, it was like a craftsman really spending his quality time and energy and blood, sweat, and tears, and now it's like Amazon.
There was some kind of pact with the devil that was made, and people just decided that you had to make shitty furniture, shitty stuff that breaks. Like, you could make an iPhone that never decomposes and it works forever and it's very efficient, but like they choose to make something that degrades after 2 years and gets bad and doesn't work anymore, so that you want to get a new one and like re-up your contract and get into debt, like buying an iPhone, and like get the Apple credit card so that you could put all of your money into there when you have to pay interest, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And that's how like a lot of stuff, like you said, with Amazon operates, and a lot of companies operate. And we put ourselves into debt trying to think that we're going to make money one day, when really like we should just be making like money from selling one pickle jar at a time. And being like, oh, today we have $5, and then tomorrow we might have $10, and then the next day we might have $20, you know? Because that's really the only way you can build a business. But everybody thinks it's overnight, because everybody's an overnight success now, like when you read the articles on the internet. But overnight success just means they're rich and they paid for media attention, they paid for press releases to go to the right places.
Or it means it's someone who actually did work forever, but then they're suddenly getting recognition, and then people are like, oh, this person is like brand new, they just came overnight. It's like, actually there's been a lot behind this. It's just, I feel like when people become famous and then their whole thing is like before they were stars, and it's like as if there's like some ending to something, and then when you're famous it's like your life begins, or when you've like reached that pinnacle, it's like that's when your life begins, and everything else it's like, how did you get here? You know what I mean? How did you get here? It's like that's like everybody wants to know the secret.
Yeah, but that sells tabloids, and that sells like TMZ. Like that's why they put that out there, is because they want to make it look like acting isn't just a job. Like they want to make it look like it's above other people, so that people stalk these really attractive people that a bunch of production companies are financially incentivized to like get press out about them. And like that's the truth of the matter.
It's so
unfortunately
weird. Celebrity culture is really weird.
Yeah, like legit, like look at Twitter. Like random nights you'll just see that like a random like twig male like actor is canceled, and you're just like, why is this twig, like why is Timothy Chalamet canceled? And then it's just a bunch of K-pop people like tweeting about some shit, and then you're like, oh, that's probably like Ansel Elgort's like management like putting out all these bad things about Timothy Chalamet so that he gets all the roles, or Lucas Hedges' management putting out bad shit about the other people that they get the roles.
Wow, you're really thinking deviously.
How do they just trend all of a sudden? Like, people don't give that much shits about them. Like, it's definitely bots. Like, they're definitely paying bots to, like, be like, oh my gosh, like, I heard that somebody trimmed their hedges, like, reminds me of Lucas Hedges, and then it's just, like, a shirtless picture of Lucas Hedges. And it's just like, who put that out there? That's a bot just made to generate publicity so that people keep Googling Lucas Hedges. You know?
Speaking of him, I recently went to Manchester by the Sea, and he wasn't there, and neither of the Afflecks were there, so...
Wow.
It was fake.
That is
what
very
a fake
appalling.
movie, yeah.
Yeah.
Anyways, with this movie, I actually thought that I think some people said it was kind of like underwritten, but I don't agree. Like, I actually felt like I liked that they focused the story on the story between Seth and his great-grandfather. Like, I enjoyed that there wasn't a girlfriend who was always there saying, oh, honey, you have to tell him the truth. And I liked that he didn't have, like, a weed habit and that, and all these other things. It was just, this is the story. This is what we're focusing on. It doesn't mean this character only has the things we're showing you, but we're not going to have all of these unnecessary distractions in the movie. And I guess some people would prefer if there was multiple plot lines, but I enjoyed the way that they did it. I thought it was very straightforward.
Yeah, I think like everything really served the story, which is a very complex and like hard to take at face value story as is. So it's like why add other things to make it seem less real? Like it's already not real that like a guy would survive through being in a pickle brine for like 150 years. So like after they do that, they do a great job of like making everything seem very plausible, and like really playing into the realism of like, well, what if this did happen? Like it never would, but like what if it did, yeah, and it makes you really think about like how much America has changed and like how much culture changes over time in a place. I don't think people talk about that enough, like how dramatically different like life is for people who are 70 from when they were kids, how dramatically different life is for people who are 90 from when they were kids. Like anybody who's 90 right now is just like living in a world that like their head must be exploding like every day. Like that's why their brains are just not even there anymore, and you have like pharmaceuticals rotting them so that like they could be okay with the fact that everything has changed so quickly. Because like I don't think people would be able to handle like thinking back to their childhood of like no electricity, no phones, no nothing, and it's just like, oh my gosh, like everything's moving at 500 miles per hour. Like there's a computer over there, there's a phone over there, everything's buzzing. Like that is so much. That is such a difference.
Yeah, my dad isn't 90, but he's on the older side, and every time if we're in the car and I'm looking at my phone or texting or typing or whatever, he always on a consistent basis is like, what are you doing? What are you doing? What are you doing? As if, because when he reaches for his cell phone, which he has a flip phone, he has a purpose of reaching for it. He is like using it to call someone and that's it, or check his voicemail. He doesn't know how to text. And I'm always trying to say like, Dad, I'm just like checking my phone, and he's like, oh, did somebody call you? And I'm like, no. I'm like, Dad, I'm like, imagine if you had like a newspaper in your hand that refreshed every 5 seconds and there was new news all the time. That's what I'm doing, and it's just beyond his, I'm sure he could he's not stupid, he could understand it if he took the time and had the peace of mind and was determined to actually understand it, but he doesn't. Like, even just my screen, I remember he was in the sorry. I almost just destroyed their setup in here with my feet. He was in the hospital one time, and I was sitting with him, and I was showing him on my phone Wikipedia articles about different historical things that he is interested in, and I was just handing it to him, and then he would read it, and then he would hand it back to me so that I could, like, find something else for him, because I knew that he wasn't, like, because I was trying to explain to him how to like scroll on an iPhone and just with your finger, and even that he was like, whoa. You know what I mean? So I got him to do that, but then he would hand me the phone and he would be like, yeah, like look up this guy or look up that guy. And he really just he's never used a computer. Like he has no desire. He thinks it's ridiculous.
Wow.
Yeah.
That is wild.
Mm-hmm.
Gosh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what is your favorite... Wait, first I want to say what reminded me of you, because the only place I've ever had this was at your house, is pea milk. Do you remember when he mentioned the pea milk?
Oh, yeah.
He was like, we have pea milk, like, you can milk peas now, which I still don't understand how that
my gosh, it's the best milk.
It is really good, but I don't understand it. But I don't have to understand it.
I think it's split peas.
Okay.
And then you basically go through the same process that you would go with for oat milk. Like, there's a pulp probably at the end, but you filter that out.
Why isn't it green?
Because they probably blanch the split peas.
Hmm.
Like they blanch almonds. Why isn't almond milk brown?
Well, because the inside of almonds are white, but peas on the inside are green. I don't know.
I think split peas are different things than regular peas.
Oh,
That
like
might be wrong.
like split pea soup. Got it. Okay. Now I understand.
I don't know. Maybe somebody is like sitting at home right now just being like, Jordan, you're a fucking idiot. Correct yourself. Google it. No, I refuse to.
No, I don't feel like Googling right now.
You guys are just going to have to sit there through it.
But the other joke I really liked, because shout out to 90s kids, is when he said that he had a Jumanji-themed bat mitzvah, or bar mitzvah.
Yeah, there's a lot of stuff that just like...
I liked those little details.
It was just very fast. Yeah,
Yeah.
like this film was very tight. I don't think it was underwritten.
Yeah,
Anything.
and then...
Like, it just felt like there wasn't unnecessary fluff. Like, it felt like it was a movie that had a purpose and got in and got out.
Yeah, I did feel like some of the Brooklyn stuff was overdone. Like some of the Brooklyn stuff was funny 5 years ago, you know? When Brooklyn was more... I mean, I guess Brooklyn started being all hipstery more like 10 years ago now. But, you know, some of the... Like, the whole thing of, oh, of course, like, now he's so successful overnight because he is just selling pickles and, you know, people in Brooklyn will just go for anything, you know, that kind of thing I feel like has been done a little too much in TV, but, and movies, but, I loved when they mentioned Smorgasbord, and he's like, let's go there, they have, like, some kind of weird tacos or whatever he said. It's so funny because when you are at Smorgasbord or any kind of, like, food truck fair or anything, it's like the weird shit that everybody comes up with, like the new ways to do the most simple things are so funny, and then you end up just going anyway to like some old school taco window where they don't even have like a real restaurant or anything, but that's like the best food, you know? Or some like little dive in Koreatown or something that has the best bao buns or whatever, like. But, I mean, I like Smorgasbord, too. But I thought that was funny. I like when there's jokes built in that are good for the locals, you know? Like, 30 Rock was so full of those, you know? There were so many jokes on 30 Rock that, I'm sorry, you don't understand unless you live here, so.
This definitely wasn't made for Brooklyn people. It was definitely made for people who are like, oh, you Brooklyn people need to suck it up. Like, your life is so easy. Like, look how easy your life is. Like, I feel like that was who this... film was a little bit tailored to, which probably makes it a lot of money and gets it on HBO Max, you know? Is that, like, people are watching it at home who have cable subscriptions and who have the money to spend on HBO Max.
I love HBO Max, by the way.
Yeah, no, it's, like, a good selection of movies. I don't know if I would pay for it separately if, like, I wasn't getting it through other people's cable accounts, but...
Yeah, same. I get it through my parents.
Yeah. But, like, yeah, as long as my parents still like cable... It's a blessing, yeah. They live in the suburbs. Like, that's the thing. In the suburbs, like, cable will always probably be relevant to a certain extent because, like, it makes you feel like you're present to something. If you don't have cable, like, Netflix doesn't give you that, like, presence, you know? You get lost in Netflix and feel, like, more alone sometimes. But, like, if you turn on cable, like, a commercial comes on and it feels like somebody's addressing you, like, in the room. And then you're watching, like, a newscaster, and the newscaster's, like, talking, and they're live, and they're talking about today's news, and you're like, oh, wow, so things change as days go on. I feel like with Netflix, sometimes it's just like, I've watched, like, 3 episodes of Ozark today, like, it's still light out, and I've watched 3 episodes of Ozark.
And now what do I do?
Yeah, but if you're watching TV, like, we're watching the NBA Finals right now, like, I feel like I'm watching history, even though I'm just watching BS entertainment, like all sports are. But, like, because it's on TV, you're like, this is live. This is happening now.
Yeah.
Like, I have to be a part of this. And that's why sports are so successful, is because now people are like, oh, this has a context. Like, there's been years and years of this. Like, people come and do this as a tradition. It's like a religion.
I love basketball.
Yeah.
I'm just watching... But, what was I going to say? Oh, so this will be fun. I just looked up Seth's whole filmography. What is your favorite Seth Rogen movie?
That he's acted in? I would probably have to say, let's go with, that is kind of tough. I would say.
I'm trying to figure out my top 3 because I can't pick one.
I think that like Pineapple Express is just a classic. Like that will forever be one of the great stoner movies. Yeah, and I think like just forever that is like one of his great films. And great performances. I love him in Funny People, and that's one of my like personal faves.
I love him in that too.
I think that is like very much the description of like being a stand-up comic, like coming in to the world of stand-up comedy is like you're doing like bullshit for older comics, and like they're so sad, and they make you be like, why am I even doing this? Mm-hmm. Like you're fighting for like opportunities that don't even seem good by the time you get there, and you're just like, why did I fight for this? And it's like, oh, it's that one time on stage, like it's that feeling of like getting a laugh that like no matter how bad everything else is, like if you have a full crowd and they laugh, like it was worth it, you know?
Oh my god, getting a laugh is like heroin.
Yeah.
Except better.
Yeah.
So I love Zack and Miri Make a Porno.
Wow, I have never watched it. Maybe I should get into it.
It's a Kevin Smith movie, and around the time it came out, I was heavy obsessed with his podcast. And he stopped making it for 3 months and was so devastated because it didn't do well. And then he came out with, like, the podcast that he came out with after that was just, like, him talking about how heartbreaking it was. But I actually I think the movie came out on Halloween that year, and I think everybody was out and like they just didn't want to go opening weekend, but I think it's really good. It's very funny, and it's very like crude and all that, but it's that like wild Kevin Smith vibe, but it's also really sweet. Like the relationship between him and Elizabeth Banks is awesome, and he's great in it. He really like pulls that off. But I think my favorite of his is Superbad.
Wait, we can't talk about it anymore. The Weinstein Company distributed it. No, I'm joking.
Well, that's not Kevin's fault, you know? But no, the Weinsteins were heavily involved with Kevin's whole career. They're the ones that bought Clerks. So, I mean, Miramax. So, I mean, I feel like there's just too many great movies. Like, yes, Harvey Weinstein is the scum of the earth, but he was good at picking movies, and I feel like we should just honor the people in them and just pretend like because they shouldn't have their movies like not watched because of him, like that, like he had nothing to do with the making of Clerks, like that was Kevin and his friends' hard work and all that kind of stuff, so.
But it is just his money and his greenlighting that enabled him, like because he greenlit a lot of like more woke artists, I guess, so to speak. Like, wokeness wasn't really talked about, I guess. But, like, he was, like, one of the more liberal, like, producers, Like, he was producing, like, very sex-positive things, gay things, and, like...
Just interesting
just
characters.
Diverse characters, indie stuff. But I feel like he just did that so that he could get into people's pants and just wreck people's lives and, like... hold that over them that like I have so much more money than you that I could greenlight your thing or not greenlight your thing, and like you're gonna fucking do whatever I want, which like is not how the industry should work.
Yeah, I mean he's a horrible, disgusting person, but
And now Jeff Bezos does what he did. Without the sex stuff.
Well,
the rape stuff.
Let's see.
Yes.
Anyway. What is this new Tom Hanks movie that I'm seeing? What is this?
I don't know. It looks kind of weird.
We have the TV on. We're just... because we're watching the finals, but...
Oh, so that's where he was. He was not being a pedophile in Greece, as everybody is saying.
Oh, this is the movie he was filming when he got the virus?
Probably. Yeah, and that looks like Australia.
News of the world. I... we'll definitely see that. So, I think my favorite movie of his ultimately is Superbad. I still think it's so funny.
Yeah, that's just like, that's very classic, and just like anybody's first like well done thing, I think like says a lot about their artistry, and that was like his first script with his best friend.
Yeah.
So it's just like the fact that you knew that they came up with it a very long time before they actually produced it, so they put a lot of work into fixing it. They made sure everybody was cast the right way. They had Judd Apatow, who was probably the perfect person to put that together, Greg Mottola. And, like, Michael Cera and Jonah Hill are just iconic in that film.
I still think it's so funny. Like, all the jokes that I've seen so many times, it still makes me laugh. Especially the scene where McLovin, like, he shows them the ID. I still think that's, like, one of the funniest scenes in a comedy ever. I think Jonah is so good. Like, they're all, like, all three of them are so good. Like, they just nailed their roles so perfectly.
Yeah, and, like, there are a lot of things that, like, don't age well about it, I think, with, like, the sexual, like, politics about it and, like, rape culture at parties and stuff like that. But, like, people talk about that all the time, and I think, like, it does really work because, like, they are really dweeby and they don't know anything about the world, and, like, that really is, like, who their characters are. It's like, you do look at them and you're just like, no, they don't really mean bad things. Yeah. Like, they are just really just... It's fucking confused and sad, and they're just what teenagers are.
And it's a sweet, like, friendship movie, you know?
Yeah.
There's also this movie that he did with Barbra Streisand called The Guilt Trip.
Yeah, you love this one.
I love that movie, and Seth doesn't like it. He's admitted that he was upset when he was promoting it because he didn't feel like it turned out very well, and that it was just kind of this studio, like, BS comedy, but I totally disagree. I love it. I think that him and Barbra Streisand completely pull off the mother and son thing. I think they're both so great in it, and I think it's really sweet. Is it, like, should they have won Oscars? Maybe not, but, like, I loved that he went a different direction and he tried something outside of his normal vibe. It's a good movie. I actually need to watch it again. Anyway.
Well.
So, should we give our final thoughts? We didn't really need a spoiler thing for this.
Yeah, this wasn't really spoiler dependent.
Yeah.
It's like Shakespeare, you know how it ends.
Mm-hmm.
Well, we don't really have to talk about the end. The end was just good. Yeah, it was fun.
I liked it.
I like the film as a whole. You guys should all watch it if you have HBO Max. I wouldn't say get HBO Max specifically for this.
For this, no.
But
I liked it. It was a nice movie. I'm not saying you have to see it, but I actually... so the stuff, like, in the temple and everything, I think there should be more, just like there should be more Black stories, there should be more Jewish stories and Jewish culture like this in films, because I actually have a lot of my friends are either Jewish or part Jewish, and one of my friends, I was going to say she's super Jewish, but I just mean that she, like, practices, you know? She is always talking to me and, like, posting on her story about anti-Semitism and stuff, and I always feel, like, awful because I really didn't know that was going on that much. So I think it's awesome that he went so deep with this movie. Like, it wasn't...
I think he and Mark Maron phrased it, this is the most Jewy movie that's been out in the mainstream for a very long time.
Yeah, man. I mean, it's good.
It is very Jewish.
I love that they went that deep with it, and, you know, he in those more dramatic scenes, he was great. I really like him as an actor, not just as one of the funny people from Funny People. Also,
the one thing about Seth Rogen was, in his press tour, also talking about Judaism, he was also saying that he thinks that there are issues with how Israel is handling the Palestine situation, which not a lot of mainstream Jews would say. So, like, that is also very ballsy.
I love when celebrities stand the fuck up and say what they feel about issues that could get them in trouble.
That is, like, one of the weirdest things in politics, that, like, if you say that Israel is, like, doing bad things, then, like, you're exiled in politics and they will try to get you out of Congress. It's really wild.
Well, I also don't understand when people say... They'll say a celebrity will comment on the election or something and people will be like, stick to acting! And I'm like... But they're just a citizen like everybody else. Yes, they're celebrities, but if the postman can comment on the election, and the guy who works in the convenience store can comment on the election, and the woman who works in the law office can comment on the election, why can't the actor comment on the election? If I was famous, I would be, oh my god, I would be campaigning so hard. I mean, not that you have to be famous to do that, but I would be all over the internet, like, Biden, please vote, 2020, let's get this asshole out of here. I mean, I would be going I'm already kind of I'm doing that. But if I had millions of followers, if I had Seth Rogen's reach or something like that, are you kidding? I wouldn't be able to talk about anything else.
Yeah. I think, like, yeah, when actors give their political opinions, it's good. But also, like, actors are actors, so, like, you have to be very wary of anything an actor says publicly because, like, they're literally people who are trained to lie and, like, act a certain way and say what they were fed to say and, like, memorize scripts and, like, act sympathetic to certain things that they're supposed to act sympathetic to, you know? So, like, that there is that aspect of, like, actors saying things where I'm like, all right.
But there are still some real bitches out there.
Yeah, no. That's why it's like when you get that, it's like kind of a breath of fresh air. Because you're like, oh, like the Muslim Brotherhood isn't paying like Seth Rogen to say this, you know, like you know that there's not an ulterior motive for him to say that. Like that's legitimately something that like American Jews need to stand up against and say, and like there are other ways that celebrities stand up. Yeah. So. Anything else?
Do you recommend this movie?
I do recommend it. Yeah, like I said, watch the movie.
I feel like it's so low stakes now that you're not really going to a theater. It's like, just turn it on. Who cares?
That's what I'm saying. Yeah, if you have access to HBO MAX, like, it's a no-brainer. Just watch this movie. This is one of the best movies you have available if you have HBO Max.
And if you don't like it, turn it off. It's, you know, you're not leaving your house, getting dressed, and going to the theater and spending $15. It's kind of like whatever.
And if you're an anti-Semite, this gets rid of your anti-Semite card for the day. You're actually a good person if you watch it. No.
You're totally forgiven if you watch this movie, yeah.
You could write Hail Hitler all over a graveyard, and then you watch this movie and it's all okay.
Oh my god.
You have appreciation for the Jewish culture.
It took us this long to mention Hitler. Surprised. Yeah. Alright guys, thank you so much for tuning in.
If you guys are listening to this around when it comes out, you guys should come to New Jersey Weedman's Joint in Trenton.
On Wednesday.
On the first, second, and third Wednesdays of the month, 8 to 10 p.m. We always have special guests. It's always a fun time, always some good comedy. Also, October 15th, I am having an exclusive VIP Cat Cafe show that's going to be taped into some kind of web series or pilot. So if you have any interest in coming to the show, please DM our account and you could be one of the only people who's allowed in. Because like with COVID restrictions, we're only letting 10 people into that place. So
10?
Yeah, it's going to be small as hell, yeah.
Wait, I want to go. What time?
I think it's going to be 8 p.m. October 15th.
The 15th?
Yeah, that's this week. Oh my goodness.
Oh my gosh, wait. I have a party, but I should be back by then.
Hey.
Yo, I want to be one of the first people in. Wait,
Cambria's Haven.
Oh my god. I'm so excited. Jordan and Cats.
Yeah, and if you know anything about me and Cats, when we're together, great things happen. Like when I was in the High School Musical production of Cats.
Oh my god!
High School.
I remember when I learned that.
Yeah.
When I learned that about you, I was very excited.
Yeah, and also like this Cat Cafe, Cambria's Haven. Follow them on Instagram. This is free press for them. They're trying to get some cats adopted in this weird time, and I'm sure there's a lot of people looking for kitties.
I didn't even know that there was a cat cafe nearby.
Yeah, Roselle Park. Everybody should check it out. The address is like 19 Westfield Ave, I think. I will post that somewhere though, so if you guys want to follow me on Instagram, you can find it there. Sorry for this long plug. And also, this Cambria's Haven place, they're having a festival on Saturday, October 17th as well, that I will be performing in called Urban Renaissance with a lot of other talented musicians. There's going to be vegan food there as well. And it's just going to be a wonderful event. A lot of love had.
Do you guys see how Jordan never stops? That's how I don't worry about you. Because, like, I know you'll always be on it and you'll always do something.
Yeah, it's a grind. And that's why we plug. That's why we do podcasts. So if you guys want to support this podcast also, you guys would be our hero. Go to anchor.fm/moviecinema-film/support. And you guys could donate to us monthly so that we could do this professionally and like go to film festivals. You guys could like pay for my Montclair Film Festival pass so that I can tell you which films to watch.
Yes.
How wonderful would that be?
Give us money, like, hello.
Honestly, though, like, it gets expensive watching movies. We don't have legit press passes yet.
Yet, but we will.
Yeah. And the more you guys support us and the more you guys tell your friends, the more money we get from advertisers. And if we get advertising, like I said, we could watch and give you guys more comprehensive film reviews and break down some really dense stuff.
We'll do it.
If you guys have any dense films, message the accounts.
DM Movie Cinema Film on Instagram. Follow us. On Twitter, I think we're Movie Cinema Phil.
Yes.
Yes, there's no M. It's Movie Cinema Film without the M. And follow us. Tweet us. Let us know if you watch any of our recommendations.